Hello, I trust you're doing great, and I'm excited to see that majority of you have already installed an Anaconda Navigator and the Visual Studio Code, which is the VSC. Like I mentioned earlier, downloading is one thing. When you download an Anaconda Navigator and Visual Studio Code, it's not enough. You need to install, and how do you install? You kind of double click on it and follow the prompt. Most times when you do this, it's going to ask you for some information, like it's going to ask you to agree, and also ask you that you just for me, you want to be the only user for this, and then it's going to ask you for the path. Then it will ask you if you want to create shortcuts and all that. Please just say just ask you to create shortcut to your screen, or you can decide not to create shortcut. That's still fine. But what I the goal here is that you need to mind your system configuration. You need to make sure your computer can actually run an Anaconda Navigator, and I'm sure pretty much an Anaconda Navigator have various compatibility. Depends on the system you use to download the software, and that should be fine. Visual Studio Code is good. If someone asks me if the Visual Studio Code why do we need the Visual Studio Code and an Anaconda Navigator? I'm like, okay, the Visual Studio Code is good for debugging, right? If you want to find the errors or the bugs, we call it bugs in your blocks of code. You want to use Visual Studio Code to debug it, and it's also very good because you can combine different programming language in the Visual Studio Code. You can load in your Jupyter Lab there. You can load in your Python .py. You can load in your JavaScript, your Java, your C and C++, your R. You can do all those programming coding in the Visual Studio Code. I love it. The Anaconda Navigator on its own is a powerful house. I call it a web house, like a warehouse that have the Python in it. It also contains Visual Studio Code in it. It also contains Spider. So we have different interpreter. Apart from the Visual Studio Code, we have the PyCharm, we have the Spider, we have several of them. They are very good, but their capability, it has been tested by top scientists, top researchers, and we found out that the Visual Studio Code is very good. And the Code Navigator is also very good. You don't necessarily use it to write code. It's just like an organizer because it has the Visual Studio Code in it, you have Jupyter Lab in it, you have the Spider in it, you have the R in it, and it allows for compatibilities of packages, which is really good. It's also a good place to manage your environment. And that lead me to today's discussion that what is environment. Assuming now you have finished downloading and installing the Visual Studio Code as well as the Anaconda Navigator. What is an environment? So every um, Anaconda Navigator you download and install, and when you open it, it comes with what we call the base environment. A base environment is like a follow-come environment. It have some base packages in the base environment. Those packages are what you use to perform simple operations. When you start looking at advanced analysis, you want to organize big data, you want to manage big data such as the weather data, or such as the table data, or business sales, or whatever. You need advanced libraries like the pandas, the Joe pandas, the raster io. You need libraries like the matplotlib to plot. You need Catopy if you are doing a cartography or whatever. You need different sort of libraries depending on what you want to do. Those libraries are not they do not come with the base environment, and we don't want to alter this environment because we're going to keep adding and removing. So what do? We have to create our own pseudo environment, an environment for our own task alone. So if I open the Anaconda Navigator, when I go to the environment, I'm only going to see one. So if you are not, for those who are not code friendly, they can just go down to create and start creating. But we don't want that, right? We want to be able to manage everything from the command prompt. So the command prompt is like the dialer, right? Just take it this way. Take it this way. When you want to communicate, right? Um, the communication comes from your mind and then proceed from your mouth or maybe any sign or whatever you want to do. The engine, what leads to that communication within you is the thought process, right? It's a trigger. So the command prompt, which is what we have here, help us to manage whatever happens to the Anaconda and in the Anaconda Navigator. But it doesn't matter. So we can also do some of this in the Anaconda Navigator. We can create packages, we can create environments, and I will show you just quick. So if I hit the create here, I can create a new environment. And within the environment, I can add, for example, here you see the base environment is selected, and we can see these are the installed, the follow com packages in the base environment. Right, there are several of them, but they may not contain the high level ones we need. But it's also good to know that yeah, we can do simple operation here. That's the fine, right? We can switch from install to see the not installed, and then we can search. And we can search, and by the time we pick one we want, um, let me say I want to download pandas. Um, if I can find pandas, can I find pandas? Let me see if it's gonna work. Um, okay. Try to minimize this. So we can find pandas. We can find. I think I saw Joe pandas here. This is Joe pandas, and then we can apply it and install. But we don't want to do all that because I'm not a fan of using this approach, right? So I prefer to use the command prompt, and it's very simple. I'm going to load it now, and I'll show you how to use it. So when you start using the command prompt, Anaconda prompt, you're going to realize that the base is the only environment. In fact, we can check it. We can say conda uh, list environment. Let me see. Um, let's see. Yeah, so we can see conda says that the only environment here is just the follow com environment, which is the base. So that becomes that is something we need to take note of. So then we can also look at the packages within that environment. You can say conda, we say conda list alone. Conda list alone is going to give us all the list of the packages. The same packages we see is going to go through here. The same packages that comes with the Anaconda Navigator. Um, let's see. Okay, I selected this earlier. I don't want to select anymore. So we have those packages, and when we go up, you can see this Anaconda depends, and we can see those packages are the same here. Um, let's see. Anaconda depends. So those are the same packages we see from the. Though this is the difference. This is a graphic user interface for those who are not program friendly. But this is a very good start. We don't want to use that. We just want to use that to see what we are doing, if the result is actually there, and we can also inspect here. So let's start by creating environment. Lucky enough, how you use the Anaconda prompt is been explained. So if you go to your browser and just type conda cheat sheet, so the cheat sheet is like a bunch of cheat code cheat sheets to load. Then you pick the first one. Wow! So you now you see the cheat sheet. So it tells you how to install packages, how to create environments, and how to do all that. This is very good. So we have how to verify if conda is installed, the version number of the conda, update conda. That's not necessary. So if we want to create environment, this is where we start from. How to create environment, right? So we can just go ahead and um, I'm going to share this with you, this Conda cheat sheet, but you can always Google it online and download it to your computer. This will help you to create environment, create packages, and manage your environment, right? So this is not programming yet. We're not coding yet. We're just trying to prepare our code environment. So when we start writing the code, everything goes smooth, right? So you can always come here and copy, right? But before I copy, I can always go back and check my Python version. So someone asked me, what Python version? How do we know the Python version in Anaconda? So what you just need to do is to go here and say Python. I think Python version. Um, Let me see. We can come here. I'll say um, you can always do here. Say check Python version in Conda. In Conda, and this the beautiful thing about programming in Python is there are a lot of resources online. Even if it can take a lot of time to yeah, Python version. So I didn't just put uh, the space there. So that's the reason why I can always go back and say Python. Um, so you just needed this double dash to give me. So this is Python 3.1, 3.11.4, which is, I believe, the latest Python version. And that's why I love Anaconda Navigator. It's going to give you the latest Python version. Remember when we did Python download earlier, right? We want to download Python here earlier. Okay, here we have Python 3.1, 3.11.5, which is the latest, but sometimes the 3.11.5 this could contain some bug because I think it was released August 24th, 2023. So you don't want to use that. So even as this 3.11.5, some of the packages needs to update so they can use it. That's the problem. So if you use some of the latest version, it becomes challenging because some old packages you want to use may not be able to align, right? Okay, now we do that. So we want to be able to create a new environment, right? So I'm just going to create environment and begin to install my packages, right? So I will go into the cheat sheet and see how I can use the cheat sheet, right? Um, so we look at the cheat sheet. Here it says, let me see, conda create environment. So we can always copy this, right? And then you can always change the Python version. So we have conda create, and then we have double dash the name. You specify, okay, this is the name, and then you give it a name, and then you put, if you want to put the Python version you put, but I don't normally do that, right? So I'm just gonna do conda conda create, um, then I'll do a name, and I'll call it Joe Ken, um, Joe Ken. So Ken, geography, Kenneth. So whatever I can always remember will work for me. And I don't want to give it any Python version. But let's go back to check. So we have conda create, we have the name, and then we have this. So I can decide to say, if I want, I can say Python, downgrade it to Python 3.7. So it's going to downgrade it from the current 3.11 to 3%. Well, I don't want that, right? I want to keep just my version. So we're just going to do create name Juken, and then we will see. Then I'll load. Now it's creating for me. It's asking me if I want. I say yes, I want you to create the version. Now we have it, right? Now we can say, how do I check all the environment in my conda, right? I just go back to the cheat sheet. You're going to see conda environment list, right? You see, so we can list the conda environment we have by going back. So if I do conda lists, it's going to list the packages. But if I do conda env list, conda environment list, right, it's going to list all the environments. You're going to see, now you see we had base, and we had geochem. So it has created geochem. So geochem will now be the new environment I have created, and that is where I want to work, right? So we now that I have created the environment, it's still on base, right? It's still on base. I don't want that, right? I want to be able to make sure that um, when I'm working, I'm in Juka. And whenever you want to start any coding, you want to make sure you switch as soon as you on your computer. You want to make sure you switch from the base to the your new line, your new environment. You could be whatever, maybe Mac. You can name it whatever you can remember that is peculiar to you, so you can always choose it. But let's go and see if the new environment we've created using command prompt is available at the Anaconda Navigator. So let's check. Um, Let me see. You said there's an update, so I said remind me later. Now you can see Joken is there. So the Joken I created have been added, and I can select between this base root. I can create so many environment. So you can create environment for research. Let's say for your research, your personal research and your stuff. You can create environment for your workplace where you work. So that will contain all the packages you use for your job, your business model, your analysis, data analysis, right? Those will be contained in different in the environment you create for your school, for your research, or for your job or your business. So you see now I've switched to to my new environment. You see, zero packages are available. There are no packages available here. So I need to start installing packages. The base root came with its own package, right? So whenever you switch, it's going to take time to load, right? But while that is happening, um, we're going to go back now. And now, how do I um, so whatever I'm doing now, right, is still in the base, right? If I say conda list, remember conda list is just to list the packages, and you, if you're not sure, you go back to the conda sheet and find see conda list. Conda list, we just list the packages. um, Conda list revision will list the history of each, including when you were installed, the current environment they found, and all that, right? um so yeah, we're going to go back now. If I say conda list, I want it to list, it's going to list packages that are in the base. But how do I switch between the environment? So let's just list the environment again. Say conda env, conda environment list. You enter it, and it will list the two environment we have, which is the base and Joken. Right now we're in the base, and I'm going to tell it, okay, switch to Joken, right? So I will say conda activate. So just say conda activate. Make sure your spellings are correct. Conda activate Joken. So now you see, now Joken is active. So whatever I type now will be inside the Joken. I can now say conda list. It's going to list only packages that are found in Joken, and there is nothing there. There is nothing there, and that's how it came out to see empty. And then I can tell it to tell me the Python version, right? So I say um, yeah, Python. Then I give space double dash, and I'll say version. Um, Let me see. Let's see, conda. Okay, Python space. So do I make a mistake in my spelling? Python space. Let me see. Python was not found. Oh, run without argument to install from the Microsoft Store readable. Don't worry, this will be fine. So what we need to do now is um, we need to now start. We need to start uh, loading packages if need be. But before then, let me be sure that we can get this right. So sometimes when you install the Python, when you create sometimes when you create the what do you call it? When you create the environment, right? You need to be very sure sometimes that the Python version is there. If there's no Python version, what do? You have to run it again, right? So let's go back to base. Let's see. Conda activate base. So we are back to base. Um, now I'm going to create another environment again. So I can always go back and search. Yeah. So when I hit the up key, it's going to keep showing me all the previous stuff I have done before, right? All the previous. So I wanted to give me Joken. Um, let me say Python. Uh, Joken. So this is okay. This is another one. So I'm going to give it a Python version now. It means I don't have a Python version before. Python, and we're sticking with our 3 points. What do we have in the base? Okay. Um, was yeah 3.11.4. So that will be our version. Um, 3 point. Let me see. 3.11.4, and let's hit. So now I'm going to have about I'm going to have I'm going to have I'm going to have a new environment called geo underscore ken, or geo ken is small letter, and then I don't need to go verify the environment anymore. Um, I don't need to go add a Python again. But another workaround to this is if you just create an environment without specifying the Python version, you can always add a Python version to it. You can always install Python there and you'll be fine. So let's do conda environment list. Um, conda environment list. So yeah, so we have replaced the Joken with a new Joken, and this Joken should have a Python version now, because yeah, we have a Python version now, which is 3.11.4. I hope this is very clear to you. So what we end up doing here is simple. We kind of investigated the base environment and that comes with the Anaconda Navigator. We saw the Python version, we saw the Folocom packages, and then we created a new environment, right? We leverage on the cheat sheets. This cheat sheet is what I showed you here. I will share this with you all. And when we're done with that, we're able to also inspect the environment. So let's do a final checkup. Let's do a conda activate. Let's activate uh, the new environment. So conda activates Joken, and let's see. So we are it's now activated. Now let's just check the packages. So let's say conda list. It's going to list the package we have. So yeah, so we have the Python. It tells us the version 3.11.4. It came with some few softwares there, and we can go back to an Anaconda Navigator to see, and we should be able to. Let me see. Remind me later. Um, it's trying to load. So the new environment we created, is going to appear here by the time we are done. Um, okay. While we are waiting for this to come up, let me see. Switch around sometimes. Um, we can close this and go back and load it again. So while we're waiting for to inspect if the new environment can be seen in the Anaconda Navigator, just to reiterate, what we did today was we inspected the Anaconda Navigator, we saw the base and the packages. We also used Anaconda prompt to inspect the environment and the packages and the base environment. The base environment is the environment that came with Anaconda uh, and you can use that to code directly. But the challenge is when you do that, sometimes it can be, yeah. So we have Joken now. So the Joken we created, so that you just have to close it and open again, and you can have everything there you're looking for. Um, so like I was saying, then we use an Anaconda prompt to kind of create a new environment. How do we know how to create environment? We know because this Anaconda comes with some cheat sheets, right? You don't need to start cramming or memorizing. Oh, how do you check packages? Conda list to check packages. How do I create environment? Oh, Conda create. Everything is there for you. So this is there are steps on um, how to create environment, right? You say conda create dash dash space, then dash dash, then the name. You say name. Name is like you is now waiting for the name. Then you can. This is where you replace this pi 35 to whatever name you want, and then you can specify the Python version, which is encouraged. If you don't want to go back and install Python later on, you can call Python directly. But today we just learned that it's better we just add the Python version we want, and then we can specify it there. And then with the next thing, we can also inspect the environment when we've created, and we can inspect both ways. We can inspect from the Anaconda um, prompt, and we can also go through the Anaconda navigator. So this short video, it says the goal of this video is to show you how you can interact with the Anaconda Navigator, and also how you can create new environment, inspect the packages. In the next video, I will show you how you can start installing packages, and then how we can ensure those packages are contained, and those are packages we are going to be using in the first set of the weeks when we start analyzing data and all that. And I hope this is helpful. If you have any question, feel free to ask me, and in the Telegram channel, I'll be happy to assist you. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.